What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Marcus, and today I'm coming to you with a different review, something that I think is probably right up the alley for Jonathan. But here I am today reviewing some protein milk supplements because, like many of you, there's a constant struggle to be able to find an adequate amount of nutrition to put into your body so that the gains you make in your home gym aren't wasted. So with my next powerlifting meet less than 3 weeks away, and I hope you're following my meet prep series, I have to ensure I'm retaining all my muscle mass so I'm hitting that platform in an optimal condition. And the way I do that is by taking in 2 to 3 of these protein drinks each day. And that will help me get the right amount of protein with the addition of my solid meals to get me to that optimal number per day. So what I want to do is review 4 of the ones that I've been consuming lately. So let's go through the 4 different protein shakes I have here. From left to right, this is Slate Classic Chocolate High Protein Milkshake, Muscle Milk Protein Shake, Premier Protein, and Fairlife Nutrition Plan Protein Shake. With the exception of the Premier, all of these are in chocolate flavor, and flavor is important because that's something I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to talk about taste, texture, bang for the buck, and more. So let's get right into it. When it comes to the nutritional content, that's the biggest factor we're looking at, right? I'm looking at getting the most protein for my buck as I can in each serving. We know that our body can consume upwards of about 40 to 45 grams of protein in a sitting. If you're using this like I do, just to supplement your nutrition as, say, a meal replacement, then this should be adequate for your daily nutrition. So I'm going to discuss the nutritional content of each, talking about calories, protein, carbs, and much more. So let's start with the size. Each of these, with the exception of Fairlife, is 11 ounces. The Fairlife is 11.5, so it's same ballpark, but it is a minor difference I want to note. Now, Slate has 20 grams of protein, which breaks down to 1.8 grams of protein per ounce. Muscle Milk has 25 grams of protein, which amounts to 2.2 grams of protein per ounce. Premier and Fairlife have 30 grams of protein, but because of the difference in size, this is 2.7 grams of protein per ounce, and this is 2.6 grams of protein per ounce. Now, calories. Slate is the lowest amount of calories at only 110 calories. So if that's something that is important to you, keep your eye on this one. The next one up, both Muscle Milk and Premier are equal at 160 calories per container, and Fairlife is about in the middle at 150 calories per container with that extra half ounce. Now let's talk about fat. Slate has 1 gram of fat for the container, which amounts to about 1/10 of a gram of fat per ounce. Muscle Milk has the highest fat content of all at 4.5 grams of fat, which equals to about 4/10 of a gram of fat per ounce. Now, Premier has 3 grams of fat, which equals to about 3/10 of a gram per ounce, and Fairlife has 2.5 grams of fat, which equals to about 2/10 of a gram of fat per ounce. Now, I know all these numbers might be dizzying, so I'm going to try to put these in a graph and share that on the screen so you can have that as a reference while we're discussing this. The next thing I want to talk about is carbs, sugar content, and I want to note that none of these have any added sugar. There is a minor amount of sugar, but it's naturally, I guess. So starting with Slate, this has 15 grams of carbs, which is the most out of the group, and only 1 gram of sugar. The next one, Muscle Milk, has 9 grams of carbs and no sugar. Premier has 4 grams of carb with 1 sugar, and Fairlife has 4 grams of carbs with 2 grams of sugar. So all of that's pretty minimal, which is great. So the next thing I want to talk about is sodium, because that's obviously very important. And all of these have sodium, but at minimal amounts for the most part. So starting with Slate, sodium content is 220 micrograms. Muscle Milk has 240 micrograms. Premier has 230 micrograms, as well as Fairlife having 230 micrograms of sodium. They run the gamut of vitamins and minerals. I'm not going to go over the entire list because they're all over the place, but I will give you the number of vitamins and minerals contained in each of these. Most of us are probably supplementing our nutrition with multivitamins anyway, so in my case, I don't really concern myself with the vitamins and minerals that are contained in these. Slate has 5 vitamins and minerals. Muscle Milk has 6 vitamins and minerals. Premier is the most with a whopping 26 vitamins and minerals, and Fairlife has 12 vitamins and minerals. When it comes to daily recommended values and things like that, it's all over the map, so I'm not going there. So now I'm going to do something I haven't done before, which is a taste test between all of these. I obviously have consumed all of these already, so I already have my favorite, but I'm going to do a taste test comparing them all back to back, get my thoughts on taste, texture, what have you. This is important if I'm thinking about my pre-workout that I have upstairs. It's not an effective product, whether it's pre-workout or protein milk, if you can't stand the taste of it, and therefore it's difficult to consume. So that's why that's an important factor. So let's start with Slate. And this is classic chocolate. I think that's an appropriate name for the flavor because it reminds me of semi-sweet dark chocolate. It's not very sweet, but it is smooth, not chalky or thick or anything like that. It actually feels kind of light, but the flavor is not necessarily to my liking. So the next one is Muscle Milk. And as I said, all of these are chocolate with the exception of Premier. Muscle Milk is thick. Now all of these have been refrigerated, but I've sat out here maybe 20-30 minutes while I prepared to do this video. Temperature is not necessarily a factor, but this is definitely a thicker milk than so far what I've tasted. So let's go with Premier. And again, this is vanilla. This is definitely smoother and thinner than Muscle Milk. Has a good smooth texture. It's a little sweeter than I'd like. As I said, ironically, this doesn't have a whole lot of sugar. It has 1 gram of sugar, so I'm not sure why it's sweet, but maybe something else in the ingredients. And now Fairlife. And by the way, I have had the chocolate in terms of sweetness is the same, a little bit more than I'd like. Now Fairlife is probably the smoothest and thinnest of all. To me, kind of resembles the natural taste and texture of regular milk, plain milk. It's not necessarily sweet like Nestle's Quick or Yoo-Hoo, but it is good. Nice chocolate flavor. So far, definitely my favorite out of all the protein milks I've sampled. Now, I do like the Fairlife brand. This is the milk that I keep in my refrigerator. And the reason I like the Fairlife milk is because per ounce you get more protein in the regular milk than you do from other brands of milk. It's definitely my favorite and what I've been buying for the last few years in terms of regular milk. So let's talk about probably the second most important factor behind the amount of protein these have, and that's the cost. So the first thing I want to note is I purchased all of these through Costco. This is $26.49 for a case of 12. This is $31.99 for a case of 18, $36.99 for a case of 18, and $36.99 for a case of 18. The last time I found this in store at Costco, it was about $33. Comparing the cost of each of these, this one ends up being $2.21 per can. This is the cheapest at $1.78 per container. And both of these end up being $2.05 per container. Let's highlight some of the pros and cons. For me, the pro is the low calories and the low amount of fat and sugar. However, the con is you only get 20 grams of protein, and the cost is the most expensive of the bunch at $2.21 per container. So the fact that you're spending more and getting less protein is not ideal. Talking about bang for buck, again, this one here is the cheapest, the Muscle Milk, but keep in mind you're only getting 25 grams protein. You're getting the most fat, and these two are about equal when it comes to bang for the buck at $2.05 per container, both again with 30 grams of protein. This one has 10 calories more than the Fairlife, so that's another factor to consider. Now again, this one has the most carbs at 15 grams of carbs, but 15 grams is nothing. In fact, 6 Sour Patch candies will probably equal about 15 grams of carbs. So in the grand scheme of things, it's still not a lot of carbs, so keep that in mind. So again, I know that my taste test is subjective and everyone has their own different taste buds, but Muscle Milk is my least favorite because it's a thicker milk. It is somewhat sweet, and I just don't care for that thickness. The other one that's a factor in terms of flavoring is this classic chocolate, being more like a semi-sweet dark chocolate. Don't really care for that too much. So my two favorites are these. But honestly, even though I purchased a couple of cases originally, I wasn't too keen on the flavor, and it took some time to get used to, whereas Fairlife was the best flavor right from the get-go. It agreed with me. This is number 1. This would be number 2. Slate would probably be number 3, and Muscle Milk number 4, only because of the thick consistency. Now let's talk about bang for the buck in terms of protein. When it comes to Slate, this is 11 cents per gram of protein. Muscle Milk is 7 cents per gram of protein. The Premier and Fairlife are 6 cents per gram of protein. So these are the best value when protein is your main factor. Now for me, this is still my number 1, simply because of the cost, getting the most protein for the least amount of money, getting calories in the middle. Sugar content is low also at only 2 grams. Same with carbs and sodium. So this lands in the middle when it comes to some of the nutritional factors, the macros. Bang for buck when it comes to the amount of protein you get per cents. This is my favorite. It's my favorite for flavor and convenience. Now a couple of other factors are what you're looking for in your protein milk. Maybe you're bulking, maybe you're cutting, but you still want to make sure you're getting enough protein. If you're looking to cut and lean, this might be your best option, but you will have to consume more of these to get the same amount of protein as any of these other ones. If you're looking to bulk, this might be your best option. with 160 calories and 4.5 grams of fat, but you have to watch the fat content. And again, you're not getting the most protein because this has 5 grams of protein less than both of these. You want something that's right in the middle, decent amount of calories, decent amount of sugar content, decent amount of carbs. Both the Fairlife and Vermeer are probably the best choices. When it comes to it, Fairlife is my best choice because I also appreciate the flavor the most. So for those of you relying on these protein shakes for your own nutritional supplementation, let me know what your thoughts are. Do you agree with my analysis? Do you have a favorite or least favorite flavor? Which brand do you like? If you like this content, please hit that like button and share the video. And if you're not a subscriber, if you appreciate this kind of content, consider subscribing to the channel. As always, I appreciate your time and thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.